They say the soul weighs 21 grams, but they never tell you how much the soul carries. My name is Elias Thorne, and for 40 years, I carried the weight of 1,000 midnights, every mistake I ever made, every word I should have said but didn't, and every word I said but shouldn't have. They were stones in my pockets. They were the reason I walked with a slouch. They were the reason I couldn't look people in the eye. Because when you look at someone, you're afraid they'll see the scars on your conscience. I found the mirror in the cellar of my grandfather's estate, a place he called the vault. It wasn't a room for money. It was a room for things the world wasn't ready to remember. The mirror was 7 feet tall, framed in silver that looked like frozen smoke. The glass wasn't clear, it was deep, like looking into a lake at dusk, and when I stood before it, for the first time in my life, I didn't see a tired man with heavy eyes. I saw a version of myself that looked light. I didn't mean to use it, not at first. I was standing there, staring at my reflection, thinking about the summer I was 12. I had stolen a watch from a neighbor, a small, petty thing, but the guilt had stayed with me for decades. Every time I saw that neighbor's face, I felt a sharp, cold needle in my chest. As I thought of it, the reflection in the mirror did something impossible. It reached out. Not toward me, but toward its own chest. It mimicked a pulling motion, as if it were drawing a thread out of its heart, and in the glass, I saw a flicker of movement, a tiny, dark spark leaving the reflection's body, and vanishing into the silver frame. Suddenly, the needle in my chest was gone. I tried to remember the watch, I remembered the neighbor, yes, I remembered the summer, but the feeling, the hot, shameful sting of the theft, was just absent. It was like reading a story about someone else. I felt a surge of energy. I stood a little taller. Is that it? I whispered to the dark cellar, just like that. The reflection didn't answer. It just smiled, but it wasn't my smile. It was too wide, too perfect. Over the next month, I returned to the vault every night. I gave the mirror the time I failed my sister. I gave it the memory of the woman whose heart I broke. Because I was too afraid to be loved, I gave it the bitterness I felt toward my father. Each time, the reflection grew more vibrant. Its skin looked healthier, its eyes brighter. It looked like a man who had never known a single day of rain. And I felt wonderful. I was cured. I walked through the world with a permanent smile. People noticed. They said, "Elias, you look 10 years younger. What's your secret?" But there was a side effect I didn't want to admit. I was starting to feel thin, not physically, but as a person. When I talked to my sister, I couldn't remember why we used to be close. The memory of our shared struggles was gone, and with it, the bond we had forged. When I looked at the sunset, I didn't feel that beautiful, melancholic ache anymore. I just saw colors. I was becoming a book with all the interesting chapters torn out. I was a story with no conflict, and a story with no conflict is just a list of names. One night, I looked in a normal bathroom mirror, and I gasped. My eyes were becoming the color of the silver frame in the vault, gray, empty, like a television screen with no signal. I went back to the vault one last time. I wanted to stop, but the watcher, the thing in the mirror, was waiting for me. It wasn't just my reflection anymore. It moved independently. It stood with its arms crossed, watching me with eyes that were now a piercing, terrifying blue. "You have one left," the watcher said. Its voice didn't come from the air, it vibrated inside my own skull. I knew which one it meant, the great regret, the accident. 10 years ago, I had been behind the wheel, rain on the asphalt, a split second of distraction, a life lost, not mine, someone else's. I had spent 10 years wishing I could rip that night out of my soul. Give it to me, the watcher hissed. Give me the car, the rain, the sound of the glass. Give me the scream, and you will be free, you will finally be pure. I reached out my hand, my fingers touched the cold, cold glass. If I give you this, I whispered, who am I? You are nothing, the watcher replied, and for the first time, it sounded hungry, and nothing is the only thing that never hurts. I looked at the watcher, it was beautiful, it was a god of perfection, but as I looked closer, I saw that it had no soul, it was just a collection of my stolen memories, stitched together into a hollow mask. And then I looked at my own hand, it was trembling, it was scarred, it was real. I pulled my hand back. No, I said, the word felt like a mountain moving. The watcher's face contorted, it screamed, a silent, silver scream that cracked the surface of the glass. You fool, it cried, you want to suffer, you want to wake up every morning with the weight of that girl's life on your shoulders? Yes, I said, tears finally stinging my gray eyes, because that weight is the only thing that tells me she existed. If I forget the pain I caused, then I've killed her a second time. My regrets aren't my enemies, they are my anchors, they keep me from drifting away, into the nothingness you are. I picked up a heavy iron key from the workbench, and I swung. The mirror didn't just break, it shattered into a million silver tears. Each shard showed a different version of me, the angry me, the sad me, the failing me. And as the glass fell, the weight returned. It hit me like a physical blow, the shame, the grief, the memory of the rain on the windshield. I fell to my knees, gasping for air. It hurt so much I thought my heart would stop. But as I sat there in the dark, dusty cellar, surrounded by broken glass, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. I felt human. I still have the great regret, it still keeps me up at 3 a.m. sometimes. I still walk with a bit of a slouch. But I've learned something about the vaults we keep inside ourselves. We try so hard to clean them out, to polish them until they're shiny and new. We think that a life without mistakes is a perfect life. But a man without a shadow has no place in the sun. Our scars are not just reminders of where we've been hurt, they are the maps of who we've become. Without my mistakes, I am a ghost. With them, I am a man. So, if you ever find a way to erase your past, don't take it. Because the only thing worse than living with your regrets is living with nothing at all.